So hello everybody. We are group 10 in class CC01. So today we talk about the economy of the country Portugal. Our presentation have 5 parts. First, the background information. Second, the current factors can be affect Portugal economy. Thirdly, the national target. Fourth, the improvement. And lastly, the conclusion. So some introduction and something that you might want to know about Portugal. Portugal is a country located on the Iberian Peninsula in the southwest Europe. It is the westernmost sovereign state in the mainland Europe, being bordered to the west and south by Atlantic Ocean and to the north and east of Spain. The official and national language is Portuguese. So next a little about the final crisis happened in Portugal. Portugal economy started in the early 2000s and began to fall deeply as the Great Recession sharply hit in 2009, characterized by the falling GDP, high employment, and rising government debt. Simultaneously, public spending increased, resulting in budget deficit soared from 2.7% of GDP in 2008 to 9.3% of GDP in 2009. Eventually, the country was unable to repay in debt and therefore applied the bailout program in April 2011. From third parties such as the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, the Europe Financial Stabilization Mechanism, the EFSM, and the Europe Financial Stability Facility, the EFSF, Portugal exited bailout in May 2014. The same year, positive economic growth reappeared following 3 years of recession. The government achieved 2.1% budget deficit in 2016. And in 2017, the economy grew 2.7%, the highest growth rate since the year 2000. First up, we got the static, and the GDP growth 2.2% in 2020. The primary sector is agriculture, took up 5.69%. Secondary in industrial, 24.56%. And last, the service, the tertiary sector, 69.75%. Next up, the expenditure side. Household consumption, 66%. Government expenditure, 19%. Gross fixed capital formation, 15%. And lastly, the interest rate, 0.16 on February 2021. Next up is the employment level. These information were given in January 2021. The employment rate 7.1%. The youth unemployment rate 34.6%. The employment rate 54.5%. And lastly, the labor force participation 58.7%. Next up, we have the balance of payment 2020. In euro and in millions. Total current account minus 2,377.4. The capital account 2,633. The financial account 780.3. The net errors and omission 524.7. And lastly, the reserve and other investment is minus 222.5. The inflation. Portugal inflation rate in 2020 and 2025. The annual inflation rate, monthly inflation rate is 0.338%. The number in 2019. The lowest inflation is minus 0.836% in 2009, and the highest inflation is 31.017% in 1977. Next up, we have the business and the consumer confidence. This Business confidence in Portugal averaged 1.62 point from 1989 into 2021, reaching an all-time high of 5.1 points in March of 1989 and record low of minus 5.8 point in April of 2020. And the consumer confidence in Portugal averaged minus 17.91 point from 1997 until 2021, reaching an all-time high up 0.8 point up in November of 1997 and record of low up 49.8 point in December of 2012. The second part of our concern will have the factor that can affect Portugal economy. Firstly, labor is what recorded that Portugal immigration rate reached in peak in 2016 and Portuguese immigrated predominantly to other European destinations, in which the UK, France, and Germany were the most popular countries. In addition, Portugal news state that 50% of Portugal between 25 and 64 did not complete the secondary school. 8 to 12% of the Portugal children were classified as workers, and the issue of income inequality has never been to an end. The wealthy citizen earn an income that is 5 times higher than other people who are living in poverty. Next, the second part is the tourism. Travel and tourism make up to 17.3% Portugal GDP, making it the largest contributor to the country's GDP and working its way up to the top 5 best tourist attractions in EU. Tourism can hold the biggest employer of the country with other 1 million direct and the indirect job. The country also held the top 3 in Europe for railway. Thirdly, we got technology. Portugal is considered one of the best places to start up a new tech business for its low cost of living, good employment rate, and cheap IT technician wage. Thirdly, we got the national target, which is almost the last part. First, we got the employment rate. After the financial crisis, the unemployment rate has been in all-time high for the last 2 decades at 17.3%. Since then, the government has been consistently trying to reduce the unemployment rate, and it appears to be success, as the unemployment rate is now in 13 years low at 6.8%. To achieve this objective, tourism has played a major role in providing jobs for everyone as they overcome poverty, increase their living standard by stimulating economic growth. In addition, as almost half of the pollution level of education is low, Qualifica program is deployed in order to improve adult qualification levels and employment ability. Minimum wage rise from implementation of the scientific employment program help Portugal reach the objective sooner and faster. The next target of Portugal is reducing the ESL, which means early school leavers. Early school leaving is a huge issue in Europe, as it connects up thousands of consequences, including unemployment, poverty, and social illusion. This could be considered as the epidemic in Portugal, as almost half of the country population are early school leavers. To solve this problem, in 2020, Portugal has set a 10% reduction rate in ESL static and improving on the quality of teacher in order to maintain the interest of young people toward any subject. Some of other solutions including creation of relevant and engaging curriculums, flexible educational pathway, smooth transition between educational levels, and strong guidance system. In addition, high-quality VAT involvement of people in decision-making and teacher education are imperative in making sure that young people won't turn away from the education system. And finally, reduced budget deficit. Portugal has had a budget deficit for 25 years. During the country's darkest day in 2011 and 2014, the financial crisis, the government was unable to pay the debt and therefore applied the international bailout program from the IMF, the EFSM, and the EFSF. They exited bailout in May 2014 and started their everlasting recovery. One of the policies to increase the revenue by increasing taxes on production and import, while cutting up capital expenditure. The government forecast growth only remain above 2% per year until the 2022. Improvement in fiscal balance have contributed to the decline of rate of public debt to GDP from 113.6% in 2014 to around 121% in 2018. Nevertheless, the rate remains one of the highest across the OECD countries. Despite the effort of the government in improving the budget, the situation still remains unsolved as the Portugal government continuously gives out the VAT exemption and reduced rate, which will lower the taxation budget. Hence, the use of public transport in Portugal is way smaller than other EU countries. As the consequence, public transport will raise less budget for the state. And to the last big part of our presentation, improvement. First, brain drain. Brain drain occurs when educated professional workers leave the place or company in order to move elsewhere, where they can benefit from better pay, working conditions, lifestyle, and sometimes work-life balance. Reverse brain drain is a form of brain drain where human capital moves in reverse from a more developed country to a less developed country that is developing rapidly. Portugal government is addressing the issue for reverse brain drain. However, 50% of Portugal immigrants leave for better opportunity. To overcome this problem, golden visa can be created in order to attract foreigners. Visa protocols can be simplified and stronger policies are also needed, including make working become more attractive, reduce income taxes, or improving facility. Export potential. While there are some policies to help the domestic market to compete with the import goods, Portugal government hasn't launched any policy to boost the export rate, leading to small firms failing to become a significant exporter. Also, Portugal logistics infrastructure is still falling behind compared to neighbor nation. While the government hasn't put any move in improving such problem, therefore some facial policies can be applied to improve the situation, such as increasing the subsidized budget on export business, lowering the taxation on export firms, or lowering their cost of production and price in the world market, which lead to increased competition, hence boost the export rate. Infrastructure. Portugal has one of the best infrastructure in the EU. However, most of the infrastructure is outdated. In order to cut down the budget deficit, the government has cut down of the public investment. Many fear lack of public investment could damage the economy. However, the government say it has little choice but prioritize cutting the deficit to gain credibility among the investors and help the economy recover. A recent report by the International Monetary Fund found Portugal actually had the net public investment about negative 1.2% of GDP in 2016, putting it at the bottom of the list of 26 richest countries, including Greece, Italy, and Spain. That means it is not spending enough to offset the depreciation of state assets. If Portugal invests more in infrastructure, working conditions can be improved and the issue of rain drain can partially solved. House prices. In order to recover from the economic crisis, Portugal has done much to attract foreign investment, including the golden visa policy. However, the influx of foreign currency has raised the price of property in centralism over 30% over 2 years. Many local people demand fair housing price as eviction have become a common thing. This is especially serious for old people as they be driven out of their homes due to pension not rising, while rent is constantly increasing. Some policy can be applied like the fiscal policies. Government should spend more on building new house for private use and decrease on income taxes for many monetary policy. Interest rate can be decreased so more people can take out on mortgage. And finally, the conclusion. Portugal government should use a mixture of policy rather than one policy and consider the opportunity cost. Rather than spending more, they should change their spending mix up. For example, increasing in government spending for infrastructure and training will improve quality of labor and reduce brain drain. However, this will worsen the budget deficit. Looking forward, Portugal should capitalize its very impressive recent export performance by continuing to promote firms conducting international trade and entering new markets. To do so, productively, growth across the business sector must be revived through the policy setting that facilitate the expansion of high potential enterprise. That said, policy must be coupled with well-functioning institutions that ensure their efficiency. In Portugal, the efficiency of judicial system should be improved to ensure timely contract enforcement, which is crucial for market transactions.